We are going to explore in this last panel the intersection between blockchain and AI, two forces that have reshaped the digital world in their own ways. Now, we've all seen blockchain's rapid rise, and we thought that's a proper game changer. For some, I'm sure it seems like it came out of nowhere. For those who've been in the know, maybe it feels like it's been a little slower than we would have liked. But when we talk about AI, it really does feel, despite the fact that these technologies have existed for a long time, that it's only really been in the last year or two that we've seen this seismic shift in the way that the front end of AI is being used by people. And on a personal level, I use it absolutely every day. New ways of thinking, new opportunities, data, automation, ownership, all of these things are very exciting, but they also do bring with them serious risks and challenges. So, the question that I'm putting to my incredibly talented and beautiful panelists today is, how do these technologies converge? And more importantly, how can we navigate this new terrain to make the most of them without getting caught in the pitfalls? Now, panelists, I would love for you to introduce yourselves, starting with Noelle here.
Hi, my name is Noelle. I am working at a venture studio right now. We have our own fund and we're investing into the intersection of culture and tech.
Hi everyone, my name is Nick. I'm co-founder at Sister. We're building a network of community-owned small language models where we actually allowing people to collaborate, create small language models and tokenize and monetize it. So far we have 500,000 registered users in the last 4 months, have a lot of amazing partners among Web3 and Web2 companies, and happy to join this.
Awesome. Apologies for the croaky voice, first of all. It's been 3 long days of networking.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, but thanks to Zebu Live for that. So I'm Alex Ball. I'm the Global Program Director and co-founder of Block Dojo. We are a Web3 and AI incubator program based in London. We invest in really early stage companies. We work with them intensely for 3 months in person, helping them to build the foundations of their business. And at the end of the 3 months, we put them in front of our investment community so they can go on and raise further funding. We've been operating for about 3 years. We've built 71 companies. And collectively, those companies represent a market cap valuation of just shy of 100 million sterling. I would describe myself as a optimistic realist. My wife would describe me as a grumpy old man.
Love that.
Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Friday. My name is Andrea. I'm the founder of Impact Fundry. We are a venture studio and a strategic consultancy, London-based. We work across UK, Europe, and Middle East. Actually, at the crossroads of AI, Web3, and a bit of sustainability, just to sprinkle on top. And very excited to be here.
Perfect. Well, it sounds like you might just be in the right place. Thanks so much. Now, listen, let's get right into it, okay? Reality. What is reality? Reality and hype. I want to start by asking the audience, by a show of hands, hands up if you believe that Web3 x AI is genuine innovation, genuine additive value for either sector, or it's just hype. Hands up if you believe it is genuine additive value. Okay, not everyone. I suppose let's come back to that potentially, and we'll see how we do. Now, I'm going to put this first to you, Alex. Is the Web3 AI narrative genuine innovation, or is it just hype?
I'm going to agree with our audience, actually. I think it's a bit of both. Yeah, so I know that Web3 and AI is the best thing since sliced bread. And look, I work with startups, and I've seen every startup with a website and a pitch deck. They've all put AI and Web3 up on their pitch decks now. So look, it is hot, and is there genuine innovation in there? Yeah, sure. But also there's a lot of BS as well. There's a lot of smoke and mirrors. So for me, I just look for, show me the use case, show me the value proposition, then if you've got that, you crack that, then we can talk. So that's my view.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll be coming on to use cases in a little bit now. Noelle, I would love to know if you could expand on Alex's statement there. What's your thoughts on that? Is it genuine innovation? Is it just hype?
Yeah, sure. So at Metaversal, we have our own fund. It's 50 million USD, and then we deploy some of that into our venture studio. So we're sensitive to how our money is being spent by our portcos that we're incubating, and I can tell you that the way that we're using some of the LMs right now is saving us significant time in terms of road mapping product. I mean, so that's how we are using it right now, is that it's creating huge efficiencies within our dev team.
Interesting. So a little bit of this, a little bit of that, it sounds like. Would any of our other panelists like to expand on that question before we move on? Anyone want to build on that?
I think we have hype around like very broad and high level statements, because like, and that was actually a very common stuff at the beginning of the year when everyone was just like AI, that's it. It's like, what exactly AI? And it's like, there's no any clarity. So the market gets better, the market gets more mature on both sides, like founders and also VCs at this moment of time. And there is like actual questions like what exactly you're building, which use cases you're addressing, what you're trying to achieve, and what is the quality or quantity metrics that you are pursuing as a team or as a founder, as a company. So I think like we're moving away from pure hype to something manageable and trackable, traceable, which is good for the whole industry.
Absolutely. Please go ahead, Andrea.
Just to be a bit of the the other side, controversial, but on the end of the cycle and being more kind of focused right now, I'm not sure. I still see the bubble growing and growing and growing, like what we experienced pre-pandemics with blockchain, and everyone was like adding to their pitch, like, oh yeah, we do blockchain, we're gonna issue a token, then these tokens never saw the the light, really. So I'm not sure we're still there in terms of shrinking to what actually is valuable. I think there is a bit more longer.
It's like I just closed a round like 3 months ago, and I was start raising at the beginning of the year. So it's like, and we are raising another round right now. So it's like I definitely know that the hype is not the same as at the beginning of the year, and the expectation for the team is like much higher, which is okay. Like it's totally fine. We're handling it, but it's not the same market, and it's not the same like level of maturity of the product and expectation from the VCs, at least from my experience.
Just to add to that as well, I think as well, like any new technology, when you get that hype, there's a lot of buzz, gives a lot of attention, a lot of investment come into that. But then pretty quickly, I think investors actually start to get educated and they start to figure out, okay, what is actually going on here? And I think like that's when, okay, people start to delve in and like, okay, your LLMs, how much is this actually going to cost? How much money am I going to have to invest into this before I can see a return? So I think...
Right, and then like, what's the return that you're looking at? And like, at the end of the day, if you're running a business, there's a couple of things that matter. It's bringing down the cost of my goods and then increasing my margin. So if you can start to use co-pilots to like, support that delta, that's going to make a lot of sense. And then I think that's just going to become table stakes, And one thing that we were talking about, just while I have the floor, like in our prep, is, the UX UI of blockchain has struggled to come along, right? And that has been a blocker for mass adoption, and that's where I see some of these sorts of tools and AI supporting the Web3 ecosystem adoption, is in how they can bring along some of the, make it less frictional, right? Bring on the UX UI.
Absolutely, no, and that I do agree with, and I think with many things in this industry, there's the speculation, and there's the money to be made, there's the use case, there's the utility, there's the accessibility, and it's how all of these things interact, and we'll see what kind of, how the wheat will be separated from the chaff. Now let's move on. Let's talk a little bit about data. Now this is a bit of a buzzword, potentially, in this space, as we're talking about, and in particular, the market for data and the value of that data. Now my question is, why is the data market for AI broken, and how can we fix it? And I would love to put that first to you, Nick.
Yeah, for sure. So it's like everyone in this audience, like in our pitch deck, we're using the word like losers, because like most of the users, most of us actually, we're giving our data for free to the platforms. They're taking it, their business model is extractive and monopolistic by its nature. Then they are selling this data to centralized AI companies who are training centralized AI. They are training centralized AI and coming back to us and selling us $20, $100, like $50 like per month for the models that were created based on our data. And there is no any way for us actually to prove and say like, hey guys, maybe there is 10 cents, maybe $1 per month that you should pay me and you share some profits, because they don't have any stimulus to do it. And the problem is, they would keep it doing it like for pretty long time, but the problem is that we have a data shortage problem. So right now there is not enough data, and by 2030 there will be even less data that can be extracted for free from the market and trained and like used to model training purposes. Wow.
I think that's the sound of the blockchain I can hear. That's just a bit of banter. Friday afternoon.
So the whole point is that like we need to end up with some instruments to reward and incentivize data owners in a fair manner. And what all these big tech guys are doing right now, they're going to like platforms that have user-generated content like Quora, Stack Overflow, Reddit. They sign in multi-million deals, and all this money set up on the platform side, but still not shared with the community, with real data owners. So that's why data market is broken, it needs to be fixed, there should be healthy incentives, and that's where we see a huge opportunity for blockchain, because we can easily track who, when, and how modified the model data set with the data. We can prove that that specific wallet or this specific account linked to this wallet actually owns the data and contributed, and if this data was used or model was used, these people, a group of people, can share rewards.
Yeah, perfect. That's very interesting. I always try not to say interesting on a panel like this, but I am also tired. Love that. Noelle, I'd love if you would care to expand on that. What's your thoughts on the data market? Is it broken? If so, how can we fix it?
In the world of self-sovereignty, which is part of the Web3 promise, and you own your data, you should be licensing that data if you want, in turn for some sort of commercial return to an AI model, to an LLM. So I think that's will be commonplace in the near future, that you're licensing your data to be trained on, and then you're participating in the upside.
Absolutely, and I think that's just it, isn't it? We're at this stage now in our lives where we've just been giving unknowingly all of this data to these megalithic corporations for nothing in exchange.
Can I just ask the audience a question, yeah? Did anyone get an email from Meta last week saying that they're going to use your data to train their open source models, yeah? Can I just get a... Yeah? All right, not that many, or you don't read your emails, yeah? But like,
I would have ignored that.
Did anyone opt out of that? Oh, you did? Yeah, so did I. Because I don't want them using my data. It's, to train their models, because I'm getting no benefit from it. It's idealistic, I think what you're saying. I believe that's where we should be moving. I haven't found a company that's cracked it yet with Web3, but yeah, I'm hopeful.
I think it's all about giving alternative. It's like, as long as anyone in the room is saying like, oh, my data was used from Facebook, like what type of data, how much it costs, like, can I sell it actually? No, like most likely you don't know how to sell it and what to do. But as soon as you will get like, hey, you can get $100 per year for your data from Facebook, you just need to use this platform, you'll be like, yeah, of course I don't like this Meta because they just like taking my data for free and I can get like some lunch dinner for this money. So that's creating alternatives. That's where Web3 steps in and creating different models, different opportunities.
Yeah, we're missing that right now, that piece, whatever that is.
Yeah, and it comes back to your point about the UX of it. It's like how easily accessible can we make that? Because you're absolutely right. You know, it's very easy to kind of see that scaremongering, like all these big companies using your data. I'm like, well, I don't care. Like, serve me ads that are relevant to me. You know, that's fine.
But even from that perspective, right, hyper-personalization, which is indeed a trend that is driving a lot of the applications. And then, as we were discussing with Nick in a more informal setup, the availability of data as well, right? Which is something else. When you speak about the data market being broken, it is very much, okay, we just discussed the monetization of it, the recognition of the value to the user, but what about the actual availability? I was actually reading the study that says by 2026 we're going to run out of high quality data, and then what is left is basically crap until 2030. So again, another challenge where we don't only have limited availability, but even if we create more, what is going to be the quality of that, right? So breaks more, I guess, the market of data, and we don't really know where it's going to go, because there could be a solution or not, but clearly hasn't been figured out.
I want to jump in, right? Because we're okay. Another one for the audience. It's using ChatGPT. But if you're not all putting your hand up, you're lying. Yeah, right. But that is data. All of your inputs, everything that you're putting into that you're giving your data. You're training that algorithm. Yeah, like yes, it's helping you. Yes, it's whatever you're using it for. It is giving you the outputs. It is being efficient, but you are training it. You are giving your data.
Yeah, and if you're a premium user, you're paying as well to give that data. Now I'm just going to move us on because I'm conscious of time, and we're kind of touching on a few of these moments. So that's the data market, the monetization. Let's talk about ownership and about protection. Who really owns? Who is going to own this data in the next stage of AI, and how can blockchain protect that data ownership? And Andrea, you were just touching on that there. I'd love if you could pick us up there.
Yeah, well, I'm going to ask the question to the public now. How many of you know, how many of you did the 23andMe test?
Yeah.
DNA, right?
Yeah.
How many of you know who's the founder of 23andMe? You know, it's the wife of Sergey Brin, one of the founders of Google. So now when you look at that, it really makes you think of, okay, who actually owns our data, literally our DNA? Makes you ask a lot of questions to yourself. I think for sure we see a lot of conglomeration right now, because as you guys all mentioned, it's the big companies. Blockchain, to me, blockchain maximalist in that sense, like is the solution, provides security, ownership. Again, going back even to the monetization of that, if you look at the example of Brave, classic example, how you monetize and tokenize the data, that's where you're able to give back to the people kind of the ownership of their own data. Thing is, going back to Noel's point, no one really understands that right now. I mean, I know about Brave, I don't use it, let's be honest. I use Google Chrome. So, do you use Brave browser? Okay, there you go. You're enlightened. I'm not. So, as simple as that, right? So, I think this is the environment we live in now, where we see the problem, who understands, kind of understand what its solution could be, but the implementation on larger scale is not really there.
Yeah, and the value of convenience, It's like, I know I should use Brave. Many people at our company do use Brave, and I see it on their desktop. So I'm using Chrome because I'm logged in there. Sorry.
Right, but if you had an AI companion agent who just automated that and made the Brave the option, right? So then you would get there'd be more use, right?
Absolutely, yes. Coming back to this point around alternatives and how we can put the benefits in front of users. Sorry, did you have
I'm trying to tie this into blockchain as well. So,
lovely.
You raised the point of 23andMe and who was the founder and who knows, and I didn't know that. So thanks, I know something new. But I mean, like more worryingly, they had a data breach, and all of your DNA data, mine was on that database as well. There was a breach that got stolen. So I think there is there's an area where blockchain can help out with that, with some of the security. That data is then decentralized. It's not just on one central database somewhere that can be hacked. Sorry.
No apology needed. No, it's all. Again, I don't want to say interesting, fascinating. It is. I'm enjoying this. Do you know what I mean? I'm learning something new. Does anyone else have anything they want to build? We have a little more time. If anyone wants to talk a little bit more. Yes,
I can add that we have a problem there with licensing of data. That regular IP rights protection laws, they are super outdated. So the rules for IP rights, they came from 1700s. It's so long time ago, and it's not relevant. And then we have 1930s where one. Can I?
Hello?
Yeah, one. Where Disney actually was lobbying all these IP rights laws that we are using on a global scale right now. And they're also outdated because who owns the results of AI generated stuff? If the model would be more creative, who gonna be actually owning that stuff? How and who should be responsible for result of that model? So there's so many things that need to be figured out. And if my data was used there and I'm artist who is producing some unique content, and after that I feed my data to the model, and after that the whole country just producing the same content because the model is producing them, there should be some way to protect it. And that's where blockchain steps in, because you can protect your right, you can license with blockchain. There is guys from Story Protocol who is doing amazing work. There is a couple other guys in space who is doing amazing work, specifically to protect our data in a new way, bypassing this cabal IP rights laws that we have for a long time. And if you will check who is protecting themselves right now, it's still big IP owners. It's like Disney, New York Times, many other like big IP holders. They're suing OpenAI because they have enough money, enough power to protect their rights, but no way that you will do it. That's the whole problem, and that's where we have option with on-chain, like tracking of the IP rights, and we need to keep running it, to keep developing.
And I love how we all talk about blockchain and this and that, but what about regulation? That's another way of protecting data. I mean, even though like I don't really like it, but you know.
On this Friday afternoon.
Sorry, I have to be the boring one. Sorry. Boo. But you know, it's there, and that brings another layer to the conversation. I guess not to go in depth right now, that's for sure, but to consider, right? Because okay, there is a tech solution, but if you look even in different countries, Europe you have GDPR. As soon as you go down to the Middle East, like it's the Far West.
Yeah.
Pun not intended. And you go to California CCPA, even the framework there, if you don't want to go down the technological alley, is still very confused. So even where you have government stepping in, it really owns things you don't really understand. They know where you are.
I suppose it comes back to this, code is law thing. Like I do take your point on regulation, but it's like if we can implement that at a technological level, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter because people are often going to try.
Law is law.
Law is law.
Law is law.
Code is not law. All right. Thought that was a buzzword that might get a little rise from the room. I'm just trying to impress people. You know what I'm saying? All right, let's move on. So my next question, kind of again, we've been touching on this, but this is potentially a controversial point. Who needs whom in this discussion? Is it the case that AI needs Web3 to, I don't know, propel itself into the stratosphere more than Web3 needs AI? Is there somebody who would love to pick up on this? Andrea, perhaps, so Impact, you had an interesting take on this.
They're both strong and independent, let's put it this way. but because of everything that we discussed, and because both depend on data, blockchain can fix the data problem for AI, but you don't really need necessarily AI into Web3. I mean, you can do Web3 without AI. You can do AI without blockchain, but if you want to fix the data problem, maybe blockchain in terms of, again, security, quality, vetting, pipelines, everything. Even if you think in terms of scalability, right? Things like sharding, federated learning, you can break down, like blockchain can really help, okay, I guess. Probably the technology is not there yet, because I was reading a paper I found from 2022, actually, very interesting. And they were exactly exploring that, but then I did further research and they couldn't really find much more, so probably kind of faded away. So I don't know what level is the implementation of that. So that would be my take. More again, blockchain can help AI. The rest would be fancy, nice, cool, but not really necessary.
And would you pick a winner in that fight, going against your head if you had to?
As in,
one has to go, one has to stay. What's more valuable to humanity?
Yeah.
It's just it's probably, come on.
As of now, as a hardcore ChatGPT user, I would say
yeah.
It's
hard, isn't it? Interesting. Alex, I think you had an interesting point on that. Perhaps you'd like to build on that, and then we can open it up to the other panelists.
Well, AI does not need blockchain. AI is already going to the moon. Yeah, no, it's had so much more money pumped into it. It's been around for a lot longer. It doesn't need blockchain. And I can imagine a world not too far away from now where there's like real AGI. I've got my own agent. It's going to go and do everything that I need. I mean, did anyone see the Elon Musk 1010 We Robot stuff yesterday with the Optimuses? I want one of them. I want a robot that's going to walk around.
10K was that?
Huh?
10K? It was 10K?
No, I think he was saying about 30K or something.
Man.
I'm like,
I want
that's where crypto comes in.
But but then if you've got these agents, I suppose what they're going to end up doing, if I'm future gazing, is they're probably going to have to transact with each other, and they're probably not going to want to go and open up a bank account with some of the high street banks here. They're probably going to look for, well, what's the most efficient way that I can do deals and get shit done, and they're probably going to look and go, oh, maybe I'm going to use some blockchain rails to do my business here. So.
Yeah. It's fascinating. I mean, this is like a very, very, maybe this is an aside, and must have been 10 years ago or something. I was reading in the New Scientist, they were talking about some AI-driven vehicles, and the fact that it just doesn't make any logical sense for any AI-driven car to park ever. It would be much cheaper for them to just circulate and just drive and just come and pick you up. And how is that going to change the way that we that we live our lives. I'd love to hear from any of the other panelists. Do you want to pick a winner in the race? Do you want to talk about how these things are mutually exclusive or otherwise?
I can add that, like, look, we're in Web3, so we also want to have some fun. And it's like AI, it's another loop of a fun to Web3 by the end of the day, especially with the performance of this year. So it's like you saw the beginning of the year, you know, like there was no as good performance in any other domain or intersection that we have in Web3 as AI driven. And then there is, you know, like there is a risk related to biasness of the model, not traceable inference, you know, like who's gonna be controlled, should it be centralized or decentralized, risk of, you know, like government-owned models and so on, where theoretically blockchain has a lot of sense. So I think we can find the use cases which are legit and which can in long term sustain and actually bring value to AI. At the same time, AI, it's already bringing tons of value to Web3 space because like it's already there, money is there, speculation is there, expectation is there, and maybe technology would be actually there in the next, I don't know, half year, maybe year, maybe 2 years. So I think it's just synergetical relationship or maybe parasitical at some point of time, and it's very complicated to understand where is the middle of these two things.
And would you pick a winner in that fight? Going back to what Alex's point.
I don't want to make you know, like choice because like I'm building on intersection, so I'm trying to combine best of the both.
Oh, naturally, I'm trying to be contrarian here, aren't I? no worries. That's all great. Noelle, would you like to expand on that?
Yeah. I mean, I'd almost like pose the question back: why the choice? Like, why?
Just
why?
looking for some spice on a Friday afternoon. I'm trying to get people riled up.
But like sitting on the investment side, like why does the community, it has to be either or? Why are we favoring blockchain and then we decide we can only favor AI? It just doesn't really make
I
sense.
suppose if I could justify the reason for the question, you know, we all work in Web3, we all work in crypto, and we see these narrative cycles come and go. My background is in video games, and seeing this kind of like, oh, GameFi, everything's game. You know, it's a lot more last year. The same with art, in NFTs and things like this, and you kind of get this like people are trying to bolt on this stuff onto an industry which is like fundamentally built on speculative investment, you know, like this democracy.
Yeah, and so like gamers move into gaming environments when the game's good, right?
Exactly.
And like we've struggled with Web3 gaming because the games haven't been that good.
100%. Yeah.
So we need better games, and AI as a co-pilot for devs might create better games.
Comes back to your usability point.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, and you know, like ultimately we are programmed to go to what is easier, right? And there's so much efficiencies that are happening with AI, like we use them all the time.
Yeah.
So
it's the value of convenience, and it comes back to your point, Andrea. And this is like, for me, I'm a gamer, sometimes looking at walkthroughs, and as a ChatGPT premium user, I'm asking ChatGPT, hey, I'm here in this level and I want to do this thing, and I get, this brings me, excellent segue, onto my final question, and we're on time, well done Henry, killer apps and the future. ChatGPT was a real show me moment, you know, AI's been around for however long, and ChatGPT was the first time I was saying in prep, you know, people on LinkedIn posting limericks in Latin about their great aunties cooking and things like this. It's like an AI wrote that, you know, and all of a sudden the world had changed for good. You know, as a marketing agency, the way that we approach content marketing had completely changed. The design agency, the way that we do, you know, pre-production, all of these things, it's crazy. When will we see? Have we seen it already in this intersection? The advent of that show don't tell moment. What's that going to look like? And this is for anyone who'd like to pick this up.
I can start where I see the biggest value for Web3 is this aha moment that could appear. I think we have a big problem with consumer-facing application in Web3. Why? Because like we have all these layer 1 protocols and like the all value occurs on layer 1 protocols by its nature, because like everyone speculates in, you know, like this token, and like that's where fees comes to and so on. And to establish consumer-facing application, it costs you a lot of money, and often it's like from fundraising perspective, from builders' perspective, you need to pass approximately the same stages and pains and experience all the struggles that you have with fundraising as you go to build layer 1, layer 2, or as you go to build some consumer-facing application. So I believe AI and different copilots and different like tools that we have right now, they can lower down this barrier, technical barrier, time barrier, team barrier into creating consumer-facing application. So a lot of people can actually create the applications super fast, super easy, and with that we will unlock this another wave of consumer-facing application renaissance. We're building it for many protocols, so we're simplifying a lot of developers, for many developers onboarding paths, and also helping them to develop this application. So I think that's a big direction for AI.
100%. Anyone else like to build on this idea of this killer app?
See, the thing is, when you talk about killer app, you do assume that the industry, or anyway the space, is so mature that needs that one more thing to then now, make it. I don't think we're nowhere near there, especially at the intersections. Because, I do see a lot, thanks to the Web3 Club, which is one of the things that we run with Barclays, right? We see a lot of founders in Web3. Everyone puts the buzzwords on the pitch deck, but in reality, who is actually building things that are at the crossroads of AI, and Web3, and even Web3? Like, everything is a lot of talk, but not much actual product. So before even we get to the killer app, we still need to fix, again, the adoption, the understanding. Again, as Impact Fundry, we work with a lot of big companies, and most of our job is literally tell them even the basics of how they can integrate AI in their business in a way that kind of makes sense on the basics. And then probably we're gonna get to, a more mass effect. And if you look at the big companies, you hear about OpenAI, Microsoft, Apple, okay, top players, right? But then you go one level down, like no one really is at the level where we think they are.
Yeah.
Like a lot of companies are so much behind. I don't think we're at the killer app yet. They're always gonna take 2 to 5 years, in my opinion.
No, yeah, fair enough. No, you're right. We're so early on blockchain, and then with AI, you're right. It is just these one or two. Anyone else like to expand on that?
Yeah, I know the question is around where's the killer app at the intersection between AI and blockchain. I think we've all agreed that ChatGPT is the killer app for AI. I think that the killer app for blockchain is stablecoins. I see that is just unlocking so much value. You've got big financial institutions now adopting this, Visa, PayPal, all jumping into this space. So I think that's the killer app that's there. The intersection, I can predict it's going to be some sort of agent that's going to be able to, trade for me, some sort of DeFi, take away all of that UX, UI nonsense that we've got in the Web3 space at the minute. The AI is the UX, the new UX, the new UI. If you will, and I will engage with my agent, chat, prompt, bot, whatever, and it does everything for me. So that's what I can predict, but it's not there. We haven't got it yet. Nobody's done it.
Yeah. People take notes, people. Someone out here is going to be making their first billion on that.
I agree. I agree in that I think that maybe that UX UI piece that we're waiting for, maybe we just speed to that, right? And you've got your AI companion that navigates you throughout the different kind of tools that you're using within your Web3 toolkit. For me, the killer app is the wallet, but the wallet's still a clunky thing. So if you have an AI agent that's kind of navigating that, I don't know what that looks like. To me, that sort of makes sense.
Yeah, 100. I can definitely see that, and I think it's interesting. We've kind of naturally converged. Look at that, well done, Henry. At this point, where education, usability, some of the big barriers that we see as a marketing agency for Web3 and crypto, I just don't know what it is. Big shout out, I got my dad in the audience there. A few times I've been like, oh, listen, this coin's gonna pump, we've got to go. And he's like, what? Didn't know what an airdrop was. All of this kind of stuff, and maybe it's the case that these technologies are going to work the best when you don't see them working at all, you know? And to have that agent or that assistant who is going to be, I'm rounding this off in a really nice way, and look at the time, I'm impressed myself. To have that in place is going to allow that more broader adoption, to allow these other use cases to flourish, and to take out this idea of the killer app, because it's going to give you access to many, many different interacting systems and things like that are going to bring the benefits, the values to users.
Totally.
Any closing remarks from these fantastically talented individuals?
I think we move into kind of account abstraction, but in AI. By the end of the day. Because all the models, it's by the end of the day still backend. It's just doing some technical stuff, and no one cares about how, what, which model we're going to be doing. What you care about, I have a problem, solve it.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, it's convenience. That one-click sign-on. Brilliant.
I think in the audience, anyone that is focusing on building their business or anyone that is looking to implement any of these solutions in their current business, like education, because I don't think there is 100% understanding of everything, but to your point, which is, well, you don't really need to understand the back end, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But if you're a final user,
Yeah.
because I don't assume that, especially in this audience, there is mostly final users, but there is people that are in the industry, you need to have a thorough understanding so that you can solve these problems, right? Because that's what we need right now.
Certainly for the builders, but I think that's it. It's for the lowest common denominator, for people like me on the street who just want to use it.
No, you don't need.
It's not necessarily even education. You don't need to understand how my phone takes a photo or
No, exactly.
anything like this.
That's on
so
the
we bring it
side.
to the value, and I think this is something we talk about a lot in our line of work. Is like almost like blockchain obscured products and things like that. You know, where like it's there, it's powering it, but it's all about the value.
I say this to everyone in our cohort, every founder in our cohort. The tech is just the enabler.
Yeah. We talk about this.
So
It's
what's
mad,
what's the problem that you're solving for
in
the
this
customer?
community? People go around.
That's what you want to be talking about.
I'm a Solana
The tech just
Maxi,
enables
it's the same. You big like, what do you use, AWS or Google Cloud? Who cares? Do you know what I mean? It's like, how is this getting me closer to my Friday evening lager? And on that bombshell, ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause, please, for my fantastic panelists. Thank you so much. We've got Mr. Stephen Bart, and he'll be talking soon. Enjoy it. We've got the after party festival.